Oh, they're gonna be side.
Do you want me to sit over here?
Oh, puppies? Oh, yeah. Because we don't do that. Once it's true.
I know,
Why are we gonna show this? All right.
I know.
Put a line to tear off. What happens because after the runs upside down with my back, and then months that we don't.
So asymmetrical.
Come on.
She was here. She wasn't stuck outside with us.
You ready? Start the meeting, please. Thank you all for coming. Our first, Tom is not here and Joe is not here, but the rest of the board is here. And Pledge of Allegiance. Matt, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight, please?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Didn't mean to throw you for a loop. Citizens' comments? Okay. Committee updates. We had no committee, nothing earlier, so we can skip that. Moving right along, educational update. We'll start with the student spotlight.
Okay, so we have January Student Spotlight, and that is Jonathan Buckelhoff. And he is right back there. Unfortunately, Evan couldn't be here tonight, but we're gonna make do. You're welcome. Okay. So January Student Spotlight honoree is junior Jonathan Bickelhoff. Jonathan was nominated by fellow junior Jesse Trottier. In Jonathan's nomination, Jesse states, Jonathan genuinely believes in giving back to the community and wants the best for his peers and those around him. Jonathan actively participates in his school community. Jonathan is a member of the National Honor Society, through which he participated in regular volunteer work and events such as Homelessness Awareness Night. Jonathan also serves as a peer point tutor in the TMHS Writing Center called the Peer Point. As a peer point tutor, he is selected to be part of the team of presentators at this year's High School Writing Center conference at UConn. When asked what motivates him, Jonathan says, I'm motivated by my future. I have plans for what I want to do in the future, and I know that future starts now. I know I need to do well in order to reach my dreams and be successful in life, so I give everything my all. Throughout his 4 years at TMHS, Jonathan has also earned a number of awards and recognitions, including the Superintendent's Award and a Freshman English Award. Of his plans for future, Jonathan says, I'm interested in going to college to become an author. I'm also interested in video production and game design, so I have plenty to choose from. Jonathan's message to his school community is, knowledge is power, and you should use that knowledge to prepare yourself for your future so you can be successful.
Congratulations, Jonathan.
Thank you. Congratulations. Okay, and then moving on, we have our regular liaison report. I'm still going to pass out this one here for a leadership conference. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so for our upcoming events, the February 12th and February 26th, there's a student council meeting at 7 a.m. February 13th is the Philot student team, the leadership team in service. February 26th and 25th is the PSAT for the sophomores. February 28th is the high school parent-teacher conference from 5:30 to 7:30. March 15th is the NHS student faculty basketball games in the high school gym at 6 p.m. And March 6th is the high school pop concert in the auditorium, and it's going to be at 12:30 and 6 p.m. And March 7th is the assembly. Okay, and then there's a little bullet that leads you to the leadership conference. So every year the leadership team has a leadership conference to really promote the idea of leadership throughout the Eastern Connecticut. And this year we will be having, we have our full schedule right on the side. So from 8:30 to 9 we have the reception, we have a let's get the ball rolling, and we're gonna engage the other schools that we're inviting with an icebreaker. We're gonna have our keynote speaker, Mr. Ryan Boppert. And Ryan Boppert has over 15 years of experience in higher education, helping students advocate for their needs. He currently is the Associate Director of Student Navigation Center at the Salem State University. From 10:30 to 11:30, we're going to have a Let's Jam, where two student leaders from each school are asked to sit in a panel and respond to questions about the role of student leaders and student voice in their schools. We're going to have lunch. We're going to have workshops where students will collaborate with other students in Turtle, and the workshops are all student created. And then we're going to have our goodbye, and there's going to be a couple speeches too. It's going to be a lot of fun.
We already have Woodstock and Griswold with reserved seats.
Okay. So for the student voice forums, there was the bus pass with Jolie Wilbur reached out again to Ms. Smith about updates on any changes to the bus pass policy. Ms. Smith responded saying that she's going to reach out to the bus company to see if any of the discussed changes can be put into place.
Has that been put into place yet? Do you know?
I don't think
I
I
don't
have.
have any formal.
I'll follow through with the bus coordinator, but yes, we were gonna approve that for the high school only.
Okay. And there was also a student voice forum with Open Gym, and according to a report from Mary Steglitz, who spoke with Ms. Spinelli, Open Gym during the school day is not feasible because a certified coach would need to supervise, and his coaches are not available during the school day. Open Gym is also not feasible during sports seasons because of the utilization of the gym by sports teams. Mary Steglitz will be following up with Deb to determine whether or not a certified coach and funding would be available in between sessions so that more gym time could be made available to the students. And a student representative mentioned that during off-season, students have arranged to work out in the weight room with an athletic trainer. And then half days on Wednesdays. Mr. Poulin shared that the data gathered by the superintendent on the student half-day attendance professional development days showed higher participation on Wednesdays as compared to past years on Fridays. To promote staff and student attendance on half days, decided to student professional learning, the superintendent supports the continuation of scheduling on half days on Wednesdays for the following year's calendar. And so those were just our updates that we gave, but we also have some ones that were from the past that we're still working on. And so there's an issue with discipline on a bus, and the student said that discipline on our bus is problematic, and administration asked if this was an issue on other buses. The student said that she believes so. And so this Thompson student leadership team reached out to Ms. Burnham to let her know about the complaint. Ms. Burnham quickly responded with an email to the high school and middle school administration. She said that the bus driver of the bus in question has continued to complete and submit referral homes as well as move difficult students to up front of the bus. She said that the driver has also reported a high school female student that yelled at her, for which referral form was submitted. Ms. Burnham said that they will continue to do their best in reporting issues. However, it is up to the respective school to follow through with this appointment. And that is all.
Well done, Cole, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Does anybody have questions or comments for Cole? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is the superintendent update.
Our enrollment, we have a couple of corrections to make on the enrollment forms that we gave you this evening, particularly on the one that gives us the more detailed information. We can certainly send it out to you, but at the top where it says registration, the very first sheet that has the little A in the corner, that total registration should be a number 2. And then on the second sheet, in the little box in the center to the left, where it says TMS, it should equal 317 students. We had someone throw off a homeschool. So we currently have a total enrollment of 977 students. We have the same number of students at Mary R. Fisher Elementary School. We have a decline at the middle school of 4 students, and we also have a decline at the high school. However, some of those withdrawals, a couple are homeschooled, but some are that students are attending an alternate placement at the request of the parent and the school teams. So those students are with us, but they might be in an alternative setting. And that overall is our enrollment update. Our numbers fluctuate every month, as you know, 4 or 5 students, and we're down this month, and next month we could be back up.
Questions? Okay, moving along. Connecticut All-State.
I'd like to present to the board Miss Laura Warner. Turtle Memorial High School Music Department is incredibly proud to announce we will be sending our first music student under Mrs. Anderson's direction to the 2019 Connecticut Music Educators Association, CMEA, annual All-State Festival. CMEA hosts 4 regional festivals, Northern, Southern, Eastern, and Western, and 1 All-State Festival each year. Regional auditions are open to all Connecticut high school students who participate in jazz band, chorus, band, or orchestra. Each auditioning student must practice and perform a pre-selected solo piece as well as sight reading exercises and 2 scales. Students receive scores from several adjudicators, and an overall cutoff score is then determined. Those who are at or above the cutoff score are selected for participation in one of 4 regional festivals. 2 Turtle Lot music students were selected for the 2018 CMEA Eastern Regional High School Musical Festival back in January. Laura Fournier for voice and Matthew Grauer, voice and tuba. Students who make regionals are then eligible and invited to audition for the All-State Festival. This is a much more demanding audition, requiring additional preparation. The purpose of the North Haven-based audition is to select Connecticut's top high school musicians. Cutoff score for band, jazz band, chorus, and orchestra are determined, and the best music students from around the state are selected. These students spend 3 days at the Connecticut Convention Center in Hartford, learning advanced repertoire under the direction of renowned conductors from around the United States. We are proud to announce that Laura Fournier has scored high enough to be selected to participate in the All-State Music Festival for soprano voice. We couldn't be any more proud to have Laura represent the wonderful talent we foster here in Thompson. The Connecticut All-State Festival concert will be held at the Connecticut Convention Center in Hartford on April 13, 2019 at 1 p.m. and 3:30 p.m. The festival is a wonderful opportunity to hear Connecticut's most talented high school musicians and is open to the public. Tickets can be purchased the day of the concert at the door or through the CMEA website. Congratulations.
voice. She's on the ensemble, the National Anthem Singers, and she will be Glinda in the Wizard of Oz production.
Thank you.
The good wit.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. No, that's probably not.
Thank you, everyone, for coming and supporting her.
Thank you. Okay. Next, we have a rural presentation.
We do. As you know, last year I brought before the board that we were selected to be part of the Seedlings Institute grant program, where some administrators this past summer went out and we were trained in the ruler program in association with Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence. From there, we started to have conversation back in the district on how we could promote that program district-wide. And based on the work, we sent some additional team members out for ruler training. Was that in October? Normally, yeah. And Principal Beltram, Principal Baker, Principal Prentice, and a host of teachers also went out for that training. And they have been implementing the program this year with the adults first, and then next year the goal is to implement the program with the students. But first we have to fully embrace the program. So Navaline and the other administrators have taken the lead on this, and I am so proud of the work that they've done. So Navaline is here today to just give us a small overview of the program.
The first handout, thank you, Linda. The first handout is a list of those people that are on that team that was sent to be trained for ruler. They've gone off campus since then, and we've gotten together, we put together a presentation for the faculty as an overview. So some of the slides that you'll see tonight are part of that overview. We had lots of different activities, and so we rolled it out to all 3 of the schools, and we're continuing. We could have gone out yesterday, tomorrow I mean, but looks like it's canceled, to start our next piece of the planning. So I'm going to dive in, first of all, just by explaining this pyramid, and I don't want to assume that you do or do not know what this is. And you've heard of RTI, you might have heard that acronym, you might have heard response to intervention, but we started with PBIS, which really brought this home a couple of years ago, because you have to look at both your academic side on your left and your behavior side as part of a whole entire pyramid, and that's your entire school-wide system. And you can address the bottom layer, which is tier 1, and that is anything that's happening in your classrooms. That's universal, your reading and math programs and so forth. And you're going to see a percentage on that pyramid of 80% of your students are there. And then there's a reason to have an intervention. And so in all of our academics, we go up to a different layer, and that's your 5 to 10% of students that will need an intervention. It could be reading specialist or one of our Title I reading paras. It could be a combination. It could be flexible groupings that we have in math. And each school has their own intervention for their subjects. And then there is a small percentage that goes to the top of that pyramid for academics, and each time you go up the pyramid, you increase the frequency. So instead of seeing a reading specialist once or twice a week, you're going to go every day. That's a tier 2, and tier 3 is a smaller group and more intensity. So as you go to the top of the pyramid, it's maybe one-on-one or a group of only a couple of kids. So you start with large classroom and the bottom, and tier 2 is a smaller group, more intensity. Tier 3, even smaller group and more intensive. And it might be even, they could have 2 hours of reading. We have some kids that extend even to 3 and 4 hours of reading out of 6 hours a day. So it's very intense. So you say, well, why do we need another side of the pyramid? There's the behavior side. So like the other side, there are 3 tiers. The tier 1 is where ruler lives, PBIS lives, and we're going to talk about that at the end of the slides. But it's important to know, where does this program work? And it's a universal. It's going to be rolled out to faculty because it's part of how their emotions work with the students' emotions. Parents, they're going to get part of this training also, because whatever happens at home comes into the school. What's life like, and how can they use this as a tool at home? Our second tier for behavior, we have at the elementary, we might use our social worker. We might use, you might use your guidance counselor for more intensive help in behavior. We might then go up to the third tier, and that's where your BCBA, your behavior analyst, is going to help, even in that second tier. With PBIS, that's on the first tier, getting a positive behavior, response to be respectful, responsible, and safe, as the Tiger Code we've adopted, and giving the tickets. That's all at the first tier. When we go to the second tier, or third tier, we have what we call check-in and check-out. So you even have a behavior coach. And it could be the art teacher, it could be the music teacher, it could be a 3rd grade teacher to a 4th grade student. Whatever intensity of contact is needed for that student as you go up the tiers. But I want to give you this because it sets the stage of why are we doing this and why is it important, and that's where ruler lives. In the universal, on the right, at the bottom, for all students. So ruler, as Melinda said, we went to Yale, and it was the Center for Emotional Intelligence. It was a very interesting workshop, and they started with this quote. I think it was very powerful, so I kept it. And I've learned that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did. But people will never forget how you made them feel. And you think about that, and I think you all had a quick flash of different places that you've been, and you'll say, yes, that's very true. So we, again, are starting with adults and to teach the teachers first, so they will adopt what we're trying to bring to the children as well as themselves. So there is RULER, what it's standing for. You have to recognize your own emotions and those of others. You have to understand the causes and consequences of your emotions. If you're raging, if you're happy, if you're sad, if you're joyful, all these different things. You have to understand there is also cause and effect, even for all those. Labeling emotions accurately. There are over 2,000 emotion words. We don't use enough of them. So we're teaching also students the vocabulary of emotion. Expressing emotions appropriately. There's a time to show that. Sometimes as a teacher, we call, you gotta hold it in. And you've got to, if you had a flat tire on the way in, you might have to just get over that emotional high or, frustration. And today's a brand new day as you walk in that classroom. You've got to put it behind you. And as it was called, fake it to make it. Sometimes you do. And you do it for your own children, or you do it for parents or whoever. But you have to know that and express those appropriately. And regulating your emotions. You have to know if you are or are not in control and how to regulate those as an adult. And then we're going to teach that as the kids. Why does it matter? Why do we even bother with all of this emotion talk? Well, it is. It is going to improve attention and memory, because memory and emotions are connected. The learning that we have in the classrooms, without that emotional stability, you're not going to have that learning that's taking place on that pyramid. Decision-making, relationship quality, from teacher to student, from student to student, from parent to teacher, all of it. We're all relationship bound in a school system. And physical and mental health, well, people that feel certain emotions, very sad, their physical and mental health. Students that are anxious, what are we going to do? How are we going to help them when they have those feelings of emotion that are not labeled? So that's all part of this. Why, again, is it important? And if you look at the list on the left and compare to the list on the right, which one do we want our students to have? Do we want them to have conduct problems, aggressive behavior, hyperactivity, risky sexual behavior, substance abuse, social deviance, and anxiety and depression? Absolutely not. So, by bringing this ruler program, we are teaching them empathy and well-being and quality relationships and pro-social behavior, satisfaction with school, leadership skills, and academic achievement. And you can think of people in your life that are socially more stable, are those people on the right. We want those kids that may have the intelligence, but if they don't have that social piece, how are they going to work in college or skilled job? So this is very important all the way through, from pre-K all the way through 12. This is a research-based program that Yale, of course, has put together. Very interesting. And so again, what does it improve? Better academic performance, improves the school climate, emotional intelligence and social skills, decreases the anxiety and depression. If you're using ruler, you are less likely to bully others or use mean behavior, I will add in there. Better relationship and skills, attention, leadership skills, and teachers have relationships with students, less burnout, better relationships with administrators, more positive about teaching. So it's an absolute win for all those involved. There are 4 anchors. So far we have rolled out just a very broad overview of all of the 4 anchors. We spent more time on the mood meter, and I will tell you a little bit about that. Our next piece of this, which is going to be rolled out on the 20th of February, is the charter, and we will be practicing writing a charter within each table. And so teachers have an idea of what does charter mean, and it's an agreement. It's a classroom charter. It's a school charter. When we come to work, how do we want to feel? And how are we going to get there? So we all have this agreement, and then this is what we're going to do. It's a plan. And the meta moment, sometimes you've got to take a step back and have that meta moment. And the blueprint is also part of the anchor tools that bring this whole piece together as a blueprint of how does it work together. So I put on the top of this another initiative or a tool to improve school climate. Many schools across the country. We were only one school, and I had to laugh because I was like, oh, we're 2 hours away. There were schools, people, staffs from Washington State, from outside of, much further than Connecticut. And they were in several stages of this rolling out. It was a very interesting group. I met one doctorate fellow, and I asked out loud, how does this all work together? And he took a piece of paper, and this is what his job all day with 13 elementary schools and several middle schools and high school, and that's what he does, the behavioral approach. So he laid it out for me, and how does this work in Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 for PBIS, for ruler. We have second step violence prevention program, and restorative practice. We have another group of teachers that will be going out for more of that training. And so how does it work at each tier? I also put in your packet a slide that's not there because I just wanted you to have your own mood meter. If we had more time and more fun to have more time, I would have you log in on your phones, and we did this with the teachers, and there's you can log in and you get a scattergram of you pick what you are in the X and Y axis, and we got to see from the beginning of the presentation to the end and if it changed. So how this mood meter works, if you look on the left, it says energy. So you have from low energy, which you see at the bottom of the blue section, and it raises up to high energy, and that's actually a red section. So you have an X and Y axis, if you would. If you go to across, you have pleasantness. So you have unpleasant and pleasantness, high energy, low energy. And depending on where you are, it could be plus or minus on those axes. And the back page, and I'll just hold this up so people can see what we're talking about, that you have a lot of different words, and we're going to be teaching students the difference between, you might say, enthusiastic, happy, optimistic, thrilled, pleasant, all nice yellow words. I like all that yellow words. Or the calm words, at ease, content, loving, fulfilled. And having students know some of these words so they can appropriately label what they're feeling, and building a vocabulary for everyone. And there's hardly 2,000 words here. This is only a few, are considered a few by ruler. So it's, again, it's a very interesting concept. I think it's something that we all recognize, but perhaps has always been the elephant in the room, that we have all these emotions and sometimes we don't know what or how to deal with them in a constructive way. But this program will help lead us in that direction. It is not to replace PBIS. PBIS is a whole different program, because you want students to still be responsible. You watch the kids come in. There's not one student running coming off the bus. Why? Because you're there and you say, thank you, nice walking feet, you're very safe. They talk safe and responsible, and when you see kids being respectful and you ticket. So it's recognizing what they're doing. It's not a reward system, it's recognition system is PBIS, and keeping positive. And this is more of the emotional regulation of everyone. It's parents, it's going to be all staff, and it's going to be students.
Very good.
Well
Thank
done.
you.
Any questions that I can field?
Any other questions or comments? Questions?
Well, everything I've read with the emotional intelligence is that's a better indicator of success than IQ. So, it's good.
But you gotta teach it,
Yeah.
like anything. And start young. And so I'll be excited to see how those students that started all the way from pre-K, K, or coming up, you know, that, how do you say?
And I think the wonderful thing is that it's a systemic implementation. We made a decision, all three administrators made a decision to join together and systemically implement this. So not only, Principal Beltram's right, as students move up, they're going to be teaching, talking the same language from school to school, which is so important. So, thank you, Noveline, and everyone who's been involved in that program, especially the teachers who have been really working hard with the administrators to plan for all of this. And every PD day that we have, they're implementing a smaller section of it. And hopefully by the end of the year, we'll have a very good grasp of the implementation so that we can work with students.
Okay, next, I see Larissa and Tom here, so
Correct.
must be time to talk about e-check.
So, if you remember, last year we had Larissa Carr and Thomas Qualichik, am I saying that correctly? Here to talk about e-chip. And we did some research with that particular healthcare consortium. And at the time, it was more beneficial for us to switch healthcare providers. As you know, we went from Connecticut to Cigna this past school year. And so I remember when Tom was here last year, he talked about, and the question around e-chip came up, and we said that we might fit better in a smaller consortium, a smaller group. So we did have, I know Kathleen and Valentine and Sean come out to the initial meeting when they started to talk about, they were calling it e-chip light at that time. And so it has evolved since the first meeting that we went to, and it's now called CT Chip. It has been recommended by our healthcare consultant that is the better group for us to get involved with. So Tom's here tonight to talk a little bit about that, and Larissa can follow up on what the consortium looks like, and then we'll ask you to vote tonight for approval to join that particular consortium of districts. So Tom?
Thank you. So last year, we said every year we looked around, based on your size, being fully insured, we always shopped every year. We were with Anthem for a while, then we moved to Connecticut. Last year, Connecticut would move off their rates, and we got a nice offer from Cigna. We did look at the original lead chip, and again, Melinda's point did not fit at the time. So now I think there's, how many came together now?
6.
6. So now 6 of the smaller ones have come together, and it's gonna be a fully insured environment still. Kind of a shared savings, right?
Correct.
A
Yep.
shared savings, so you're gonna go into this with the other groups, you're gonna just still pay your fixed premiums, but in the end, the groups also can, if you run well together, can get some of the premium back. So you're kind of getting a little bit of a little bit of both of self-funded and fully insured, kind of getting your feet wet. Now, the good thing about it is that indications are this is your first year with Cigna Direct after you left Connecticut. So we've been getting indications from them that the renewal out the gate would be 18 to 20%, somewhere in that range. And because you're a first year, they still wanted to get updated data through January, which we would just have in the next couple weeks. But in that time, they've been doing their homework on eChip Lite and getting the quotes together. And right now, based on the numbers from, not eChip Lite.
I know, right?
Sorry. Based on the numbers that are presented, you'd be able to budget flat for next year. So you'd be moving, go and still be Cigna. So all the staff would still use Cigna, same network, same hospital, same national network. None of their benefits are changing. Everything, unless there's a contract change, everything is going to remain the same. The only difference is, instead of sending your premium to Cigna, you're going to be sending your premium to eChip. I mean, simply that's the change. You can budget flat. You have the opportunity. The upside is you have the opportunity to share in some of the savings if the group runs well. It's hopefully going to create stability over time as the groups come together. You'll see more and more municipalities in Connecticut doing this, taking a look at this. So, I mean, that's really the upside and the benefits to it. Good question?
The bottom line is it's just buying power.
Yeah, I mean, yes.
Yep. Simplified.
Yes.
Just buying power.
Yeah, I mean, look, 85 to 90% of your spend is your claims. So we could be sitting here next year, and even with the buying power of 6 groups together, Cigna could be coming back and saying the claims ran at this, and we're looking at it. But yes, the fixed cost part of it, the stop loss, the admin fees, because even in a fully insured environment, you still have stop loss built into your rates. Yes, you're getting the power of, instead of being 250 to 300, to be around, five or 600, something like that.
Yeah, like 600. It's like 570.
You're basically doubling the size of your group.
So, the only downside that I could think of is if, you said there would be 6 including us?
Correct.
The other 5 had awful years, we deal with that. But would the buying power outweigh that, you think? Does the buying power outweigh a bad year, let's say?
In this scenario, it does, in the sense that, because you're not self-funding, so you're not pooling.
Right.
And even for the larger group that I was out here, hi, Larissa Carr, I've been here a few times. But even for the larger group that we talked about in the past, that concept isn't true pooling either. We differentiate everyone, because that is a fear. You don't want to have, out of 5 of us, 4 of us had a bad year, we're all going to feel the hit of that. We want to have differentiation, so we're looking at everybody on an individual basis. So it is really that buying power that is in front of it all. And as you progress, and as the claims or the history and the experience is tracked, that becomes a discussion that the group would have to say, all right, do we want to bond together this year? Our claims look good this year, so we can all get a better rate this year. Or no, we don't, because 3 of us didn't do so hot, and we can't take the hit for that. Our budget says we have to be here. So it becomes that discussion, but the law of large numbers and the buying power, that's the front end of it. And the longevity piece of it too, because even though this is going to be set up on a fully insured basis, so as Tom said, really no difference in the way you guys are doing anything today. Nobody would feel anything different. We're going to start tracking the claims experience. So we're going to start to better understand, how do you guys run? How is everybody operating? And really start to analyze that information, which is in the long run going to be able to give us more at the table when we go to negotiate, but also more to give you guys to say, this is how your groups are running, so you have a better idea, a better picture of what your claims look like.
Gives you more flexibility. There's no magic bullet on the healthcare side. That's why we shopped every year. That's why we looked. 1 year, one insurance carrier was being more aggressive than the other because they wanted membership. 1 year, insurance company wanted more profit, so they were rating higher. You know, there's nothing to it. So again, and this is giving you the flexibility of going in with those groups. And again, being part of the charter member, being on this board, you'll be part of the decision making. So you're looking at the renewal next fall, next December, and 4 out of the 6 ran terrible, but you ran good. There's that flexibility the board gets to talk to and talk about, well, are we gonna rate each other individually? Are we gonna try to go together again? What are we gonna do?
Right. Okay, when I'm reading this, the bylaws here, and you have to start looking early in the fall, because if we decide to drop out of this, because after a while we realize that, hey, this is not going well for us.
Yep.
It's the November is the drop dead date for
Correct.
us. And there's a 2% buyout. We have 2% of our annual premium to buy out of this plan.
If you were to buy out prior to the 3 years. So
Oh,
if you
3
stay
years.
in for the
Okay,
3 years.
So I have to be in this for 3 years.
Correct.
And if I buy out before November 1st, it's 2%. If it's after November 1st, and I have to know that, hey, wow, this is going up a whole lot.
Yep.
Because, you know, I'm still possibly looking around at other options, or somebody's come to me. It's 3% of my annual premium to
Correct.
buy out of this plan.
Correct.
Within the 3 years.
Which is essentially, if you wanna put a number to it,
It's a lot of money.
well, combined between town and board, you're paying about 3.5 million, so you're talking, 2%, 70,000, or
Okay.
3% that's combined with the
Yeah,
town too,
yeah,
I say,
okay.
combined. So, because the town is gonna, based on their size, be part of this and moving along also, so.
Chunk
It would be between 70 and 170,000 prior, or 105,000 after. But again, that would also, so you know, if we are looking for some reason, that would be taken into account when we were looking at, like, say you said to me, we don't know if we really like this experience, go out and look at different insurance carriers, so we're getting quotes. I would obviously have to factor that into your projections, so your current cost versus your projected cost next year, the following year.
Okay.
I think the good news for Thompson is that we're not gonna change carriers where the other
Right.
districts have got to navigate through that.
Correct.
Right.
No carrier change and no benefit, again, and as long as there's no union contracts coming up, no benefit changes either.
Yeah, it should be seamless.
It really is literally, there is work to have to be done behind the scenes, there will be new ID cards, because there'll be new group numbers and stuff, but pretty much people are getting new ID cards every year, and then it's just gonna be a function, again, where you send your premium versus where you're sending it now.
Oh, that's what we should do.
Comments, questions?
Can you tell us who we're partnered with?
The towns,
Mhm.
Brooklyn, Bolton, Canterbury, Brooklyn, Bolton, Canterbury, you guys, Thompson, Union, and Columbia. I was at the county house.
I had called earlier too, a couple of weeks ago, to find out the difference between what we currently pay, the brokerage fee that I think is built into the price that we were quoted. Was it 3%?
They built in for the rates that came back, where a 3% was built in.
Okay, so I haven't gotten an update of the,
No, we're staying, whatever you're currently paying us, it's the
Yeah.
same,
Right.
and that's what's in the rates.
yeah, that's one of the reasons, that's all.
Yeah.
I guess if somebody could sit with me, I was hoping to do this tomorrow, but we
Yeah,
already canceled the
right.
meeting. The terminology between what some of the plans currently are and what the new plans are going to be, it's hard for me to match up. They're like, one is like AOP 6, and what does that equal over here? I can figure out most of it, like,
I have a new
95% of it?
spreadsheet I can send.
Okay, 'cause it's a
I can
couple
email it
odds
to
and
you,
ends.
because it was the same thing, I had to go up and match up. I had
What
to match up
changed,
the
the
different.
plan name?
No, I just, based on some of the spreadsheets Joe did,
Oh,
I had to
okay.
go through, but I
Okay. 'Cause
matched
the
up.
plans themselves are.
Right, the plans didn't change, but
identical.
I.
Yeah,
they're
it
the
also
same.
looks like some of them in between, the single or employee plus dependent,
Yeah.
or employee plus family. There's an up and down, sometimes it's.
Yeah, and it's probably based on one of the spreadsheets we did, we could have had contracts through December, and they had contracts through November, the most updated they have is through November.
Right.
So it is gonna fluctuate month to month, but what I did for comparison's sake before I came tonight, to make sure the numbers matched, I took the contract counts they were using and plugged them into the plans, and that overall cost spreadsheet for Thompson Town and Board of Ed matched to the penny.
Okay,
So,
and what did you have for a number? I wanted
like
to make sure I matched to the
360, 360, whatever the one is on the last one that was handed out at E-Chip,
Yeah,
the
that's about what I had.
3609, whatever.
Yep.
That's what I came to the penny.
Because I took it individually too. We also, just to give you an idea, folks, what a fluctuation is of our insurance, we added 4 people to our insurance plan for the month of February. So, so that changes next year's budget today for folks that are, because then we'll pay a whole boat for those 4 people. We had, and so it's kind of interesting, when we first switched, we started the year with about 10 to 12 additions, because of the switch from Connecticut to Cigna. And through the course of the year, we're netting positive numbers as the year goes on. But it just keep that in mind when we go through the budget again. The number's different than it was. The number's different than it was at 8 o'clock this morning. Sorry, didn't mean to.
No, it's okay. Sorry. Any other questions, comments? We're okay? All right, well, thank you. We're gonna vote on this shortly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
School calendar?
So before you, and I'm sorry we didn't get this out to you ahead of time, but I'm not great at formatting, so I had to rely on Danielle to help me with this. However, the reason we're putting it before you so early, usually we don't do this probably till March or April, but we are transitioning to a new student information system, and so in order to build the backbone, the school calendar is essential to be set. So we can see that the first day of school in August 2019 will be on the 28th for students. The first 2 days, the first day on the Monday will be our teacher orientation day, and then on the 27th we're going to hold a PD day that day because the new student information transition for teachers, they'll need to look at gradebook and how to post their assignments, so they're going to need some in-service, and it'll probably be most of that 27th, getting used to the new SIS system. So then we use the same rationale we used for this year's calendar. We put the PD days on the back end of the school year, and then we kept standard the half days on Wednesdays. And you can remember that the old calendar had about 17 to 22 half days in the school year. We've reduced that to 1 time per month. We feel that we need that professional development time for teacher evaluations, for us to do some of the work that we need to do to address the issues that we saw in our coherence and capacity audit. So those days are really valuable when we have them, but we felt like we wanted to front load and get in as many school days before the weather got bad, and then do those other days after the first of the year. As you can remember, last year we took some of those PD days to offset the 12 full days that we had off of school. And so our last day, if all goes well, would be Thursday, June 11th.
Anybody have questions, comments about this?
Yeah, we don't have a Board of Ed meeting in April?
Oh. But it wouldn't be the 13th, it would be
No.
the 6th or the 20th. Really what I want to have approved today is the start date and the end date, and the vacation, so we can get that into the system. But we have to fix that Board of Ed in April, Danielle. We can make an adjustment to that.
Okay, so it's not on the action items, so
Yeah.
we can add it to action items with a vote. So, you want to make a motion to add it to action items?
I make a motion to add the calendar for 2019, 2020 to the.
Okay, so action items, that'll be letter G. Do you have a second? Thank you. All right, this is just to add it, nothing else. So, all in favor of adding it to the action item, say aye. Aye. Everyone abstain. Okay, so it'll be added. And we can certainly approve the start, the end, and work out all these little.
I think we have, because then we already voted on that. So we already know it's the 6th.
It's It's in there somewhere.
Yeah, in there somewhere.
We can straighten that out.
Can you just
Okay.
check on, in December, the Board of Ed meeting on the 10th, because it's not on the 9th? I don't see that it's a holiday.
All right, we got a couple of things to check on this.
Okay, it's on about the discussion, but not on.
No, I was ready to.
I don't know if I added all my dates. No, I didn't. I didn't add my dates in, so. Okay, well, we can fix them up easy enough, because we already voted on it. Anything else on the calendar right now? Okay.
But there's gonna be things, happening, of course, with like the exams for the high school,
Right.
the other things, so you can visit that in the book.
Exactly, we're gonna put all those dates in. We just, if I don't get this approved this month, it's gonna push back the SIS conversion.
Okay. All right, we'll do administrator reports. Ms. Beltram, you want to start us?
Sure, we had, along with middle school, we had a nice variety show. It was kind of a double effort for, it was both Teague that night, Have a Heart, and a variety show by Heard. It was packed house and a lot of fun. So, our second thing is we have finished up a lot of our testing. We do have one more from, it's a national testing. It was supposed to take place tomorrow, but that'll be pushed along. Sorry, Ian.
That's all right, we already worked it out.
It has to be pushed along. So we're finishing up a lot of our testing, and so we can see our student growth at this point of the year. And that's about it.
Thank you. Any questions? Mrs. Baker, I'm not going in any particular order.
Okay, the student liaison, Cole Coder, actually did an absolutely wonderful job. I'm really excited that you are now getting a print of the events that are coming up, so perhaps you can put them on your calendars. I'd like to say that our third year in doing a public presentation for our program of studies, we almost had to move to the auditorium. We actually had a wonderful coordination with the middle school emailing out the flyer for tonight's presentation, and the 8th grade project graduation pushed back their meeting in order to attend our presentation first, and our school governance council at the high school made it their February meeting. So we had, we filled the library. It was really wonderful to have that many people come.
Thank you. Deb, do you have anything you want to?
Yesterday was the All-State Soccer Banquet. Lauren Ramos and Kelly Paxton were honored, and Rory Johnson got scholar athlete. She got a scholarship from the Connecticut Soccer Association. Our boys team is on a roll. They had 2 big wins last week, and they made the state tournament, first time in a few years. Girls, if they win tonight, they make the state tournament. And ECC tournaments start with girls this week, boys next week. And I'm looking for coaches. Anybody up there have a lot of time? Looking for a lot of coaches.
Okay.
For SEP.
Thank you.
If you want to build my house, I'll coach something.
I can build it. You might not want to
If my
live in it.
parents want
Mr. Bell?
We are very happy to report that our academic support center is in full swing. We're going into the 3rd week this week. We are pleased that it's been very well attended. We've been averaging about 12 students each session. In fact, we had to cap it at 16 because we had so many last week that it was tough for the 3 teachers and they handle that many kids all at one time, but it's going very well. NEWA testing was completed last week. I just want to give a shout out to Mary Orban and thank her for all the time and effort. She did all our scheduling for us and handled all the administration of the testing process, and she did a great job, so I just wanted to thank her. Mrs. Beltram and I are in the process of putting together a transition orientation program for grade 4. A communication is going to be going home to parents in the next week or 2 about that. We're going to have our 4th graders come over to the auditorium for a PowerPoint presentation, a presentation by the administrators and the guidance department. Again, the goal of the program is to ease the transition of 4th grade into the middle school, and at the same time kind of showcase all of the outstanding academic and extracurricular programs and experiences that we have available here for kids. And we're going to do the same thing later on. We're still in the planning stages. We haven't solidified the dates yet, but we're going to put the same presentation on in the evening for the 4th grade parents towards the end of the month, so that they'll get a little taste of what's going on as well and what their kids were exposed to. And lastly, the TMS boys and girls basketball teams concluded their season last week. The boys finished with a record of 8-7, and the girls finished with a record of 6-6. Both teams qualified for league playoffs, but unfortunately both lost in the league semifinals. But congratulations to both teams. They, along with our cheerleaders, are going to be honored this Thursday night at 6 o'clock in the high school auditorium. So everybody is invited to come and honor those groups of young student athletes. And that's my report.
Good, thank you. Mr. Sullivan.
I just wanted to jump in with what Nav mentioned earlier, the NAEP test, which is the one that she was referencing. It is the, when you hear about the nation's report card, they give out statistics on how students across the country are doing in math or science or English. That is based on a national test that is given to randomly selected schools throughout the country and randomly selected students. In my 20-some odd years of teaching, this is the first year I've been at a school where we've actually been selected. So this is all new experience for me, but I've been coordinating it for our 4th graders and our 8th graders. Thank you to the principals who have helped support that. Mary Aubin helped run it with the middle school last Tuesday. It was supposed to be this Tuesday, tomorrow, at the elementary school, but we had to move it, obviously because of the weather, so we moved it from Lincoln's birthday to Washington's. We'll do it on Friday the 22nd. So the people from NAEP, volunteers from NAEP do come, and they are the ones who administer the test. So there isn't a lot of work for our people to do, but it's randomly selected students, so not everybody. But it's been an interesting experience to work with them. So.
And I just need to interject one thing. We received, and I've never received anything like this before, especially from NAEP testing, which I have a lot of experience with. But for the folks that came out that implemented that federal assessment, they said, one of the facilitators said, I will speak for Renee and myself. We really cannot express what a tremendous work you did for the 2 schools in your district. Everything was picture perfect. And they were talking about iron. So,
thank you. No, really, it wasn't as hard as they make it sound, but fine, I'll take it. So that was all. That's been probably one of the biggest things we've had going on here. Professional development was scheduled for Wednesday afternoon, which has now been postponed for the teacher professional. So it's no longer an early release day. I know you sent that out.
I did, because we withdrew that because we don't know if we're going to have a delay of school, and that would be silly to bring the students in for an hour. So I think that we will figure out when else to do that.
Correct. So I just thought I'd say that out loud, that we're going to have to reconfigure when that time is given. So, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Birch, how's things?
Great. So, while the weather's been good to us in terms of snow, the fluctuation in temperature has not been good for our geriatric roof. The roofers are like regular employees here now. Everybody knows them. But we try to stay ahead of it. They keep coming. We keep patching the holes as they expand and contract. Starting last week, I put 3 additional bodies on every night that I can to disinfect the building where they can, to try to hold down the flu and the stomach virus, and everything else is floating around. And again, I tout their performance all the time. These are my part-time temporary employees, and they do it all. So I can't give them enough credit. And today, Mrs. Smith and I spent another 2 hours trying once again to submit the application for the school construction grant for the oil tanks because there was a glitch. That's the official state term. And we don't really know what it was. It's kind of unclear, but we're moving forward and putting as much pressure on the state as we can.
Our third time, we're getting pretty
This
good
is-
at it.
This is
now.
our third time, but it does seem like it changes every time.
I did need to use my meta moment and mood meter. I am not handling it well, but Mr. Birch is a calming soul, and we're working our way through it. So.
Well, thank you both for doing
Either Bill, where do we stand right now, building committee roof? Where is that? I don't even remember where that stands right now.
With the roof,
Yeah.
I
know there's a building committee on it, but.
so with the roof, the building committee is on it.
Yeah.
I believe we have received the final cost estimates. And prior to us going through this process again,
Right.
It has to go to referendum and the town has to approve the funding. So the town has to agree to pay for it first.
Right, no, I
And then we can
understand.
apply for the grant, for the reimbursement.
So, any idea, is the town just planning on doing that at the same budget vote? Or, I mean, if we already have the estimates, can't it go out to start moving this process? Slow process?
Shortly. We have a building meeting on Wednesday. So all your questions can be answered. You can come.
I could. Or you could just text me when you leave.
Probably would be easier. Okay. Anybody have questions for any of our administrators?
Well, we didn't go over it, so I have a question, maybe, that I can answer. I saw you back there. 19 warranty issues on Chromebooks, is that typical? It just seemed like a long list. I mean,
19 quarantine.
warranty.
Oh, I'm like quarantine.
Warranty. She lists all the Chromebook repairs and whatnot.
And
19 in
a
1 month.
lot of them are middle school.
Okay. What happens to those 19 students? Do we have that many extra, or like?
Yes, we do, and we do send them out. The parents pay for them.
Even under warranty?
Well,
because there were 19 specifically say called under warranty.
Oh, okay. Yep.
And then there's half a dozen other miscellaneous, look like simple repairs that were fixed and returned.
Okay.
But those warranty ones, I was just curious, what happens? The kids, they get another one in the meantime?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Mary Auburn actually here in middle school, we have extra ones that we give to the students, but the students can't bring them home. So they borrow them
I got you.
throughout the day, and then they bring them back at the end of the day. And as soon as their Chromebooks are fixed, then they get their
So only the
Chromebooks.
one that they were assigned at the beginning of the year is the one they get. Okay, that's all.
Sean, I just wanted to add that one of the things that I was having this conversation with Heather actually, one of the things that we've determined is that on the Chromebooks, one of the biggest problems is that the screen tends to crack along the bottom. And that we think we've determined is from the kids not doing anything incorrectly or intentionally, but if you actually hold, I'm not going to do it, but if you actually hold the Chromebook from this part, which is, as you can see, lighter and a little bit thinner, it bends. So it's not so much the kids pushing on there inadvertently, it's the carrying it by here that's bending it and probably cracking it at the bottom. So we might be able to resolve some of that before the warranties end by just giving the kids some additional, instruction on how to actually carry them when they're open. That seems to be one of the bigger concerns.
Okay, thank you.
When it goes out for warranty, what's the turnaround time?
It depends on the season. The snow days and everything, but every day we have UPS coming in because we have to have the box. The UPS brings the box and then we put in the Chromebooks and then get sent out and then we have to wait. it's not really that long, just depends on, the weather.
Because the kids can't take them home, so.
Yeah, they can't take it home, just because we just don't want another one being broken, and we do have limited ones. But it's been pretty good, the turnaround, yep.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's move on to action items. We've got 4 meetings, meeting of December 10th, could I have a motion for discussion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, any corrections, omissions, deletions? Yes.
Under Linda Jamilovich, she arrived late, probably around 7:45. She left the town hall at 7:40. I've given her 5 minutes to get up here. And then on the 3rd page, under citizens' comments, to 3rd line, she would also like to know of homework. It should be if homework helps. So like to if.
No, you do? You got it? Is this December 10th you're talking about?
Yeah, 3rd page.
Oh, okay, all right. I just haven't caught up, so as long as you. That's what it is. Any others? So all those in favor of accepting it with those 3 different corrections, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Anybody want to abstain? We have a meeting of January 14th. Do I have a motion, please?
I'll make that motion.
Linda?
Second.
Jody? Anything here? Linda?
Bill's missing.
Was he here?
Were you here?
Oh,
Yeah,
well, I
he's all
called
over
the meeting
again.
to order, so
I guess you were here.
Maybe that's the mistake.
maybe just physically.
You didn't call it to order.
And then on the 2nd page, the minutes for the regular meeting, tabled to February meeting. That should have been the December minutes were tabled, December 10th.
I learned these things, why didn't I pick up on these? Right.
Anything else?
No. She's waiting for the next one.
Okay, all those in favor of accepting these minutes with those 2 corrections, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anybody want to abstain? Okay, January 22nd meeting. Do I
You're
have a
missing
motion?
again, Bill.
Motion approved. I'll second it.
We have a motion, a second. Okay, we're at January 22nd.
Kathleen said you were missing.
Well, I think she used the same heading, that's all.
Okay. I thought it was me.
And then one other thing.
But
When you come down on the educational update, Heather Burns, instead of Heather Burns have, it should be Heather Burns gave.
Yeah.
anything else?
Nope.
All of those in favor of accepting with those 2 corrections, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? Maybe I should abstain, I wasn't, I guess I wasn't, I missed a ton of meetings. All right, last one, January 28th. Could I have a motion?
Motion is second.
Jody
I'll second it.
and Linda. I wasn't here.
Yep. And one other,
What?
down under adjournment, motion by Donna Goddick, it should be seconded by Thomas Angela.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. All those in favor with those 2 corrections, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anybody want to abstain? Okay, passes.
Well, which one was Joe at? Wasn't he at this one? Yeah, wasn't Joe at the?
Joe's the
He was at the last meeting.
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
Yeah, 'cause
The last meeting was in February.
Oh, okay.
Never mind.
Right.
Never mind.
Okay.
That was a budget.
Yeah, it was the last budget you showed us.
Okay.
Okay.
Never mind.
We're up to the CT chip approval. Could I have a motion?
I make the motion to approve our joining Connecticut CT chip.
A second.
Motion, second. Discussion? There's a resolution that I'll read. Whereas Public Act 10-174, an act concerning agreements between the municipalities and boards of education for the joint purchase of employee health insurance, allows municipalities/boards of education to join together for the purpose of providing medical and/or health care benefits for their employees. Now therefore, the Town of Thompson Board of Selectmen approve the Town and Board of Education forming and joining the Connecticut Collaborative Health Insurance Program, CT CHIP, and authorize the administrative officer and superintendent of schools to take actions necessary on behalf of the Town of Thompson.
Okay, has the town been informed that we're doing this? And
This is the Board of Selectmen.
oh, they have,
Well,
that
yeah,
was theirs, okay.
That's
Finance director has. And I'm,
They
they're,
have to sign the bylaws as well.
Yes, I saw that, yeah.
3-year.
And then 1 year renewable, or any idea?
You know, they didn't talk about
I didn't think about it at the
renewals
time.
yet.
I'm,
The
Not a big deal.
renewals, yeah, they haven't talked about it.
they've got a quote for this.
Yes, exactly, but after the 3 years expires, there's been no conversation about what the renewal.
No, it depends on, there's a number of things, I mean, eventually, the program would be some, and it's kind of, it's been alluded to in the charter, eventually to get towards, self-funding.
I think the question was more, is this 3-year cycles all the time? After we're done the 3 years, can we sign up for another 3 years, or will that be 5 years or 1 year?
Or do you, after your first year, do you add on a, what I mean, how does it work? So, not a big deal right now, but.
The plan is to get through the first 3 years,
Yeah.
and then make a decision from there.
Yeah, okay.
And is it a collaborative decision, or is it just like if you didn't want to stay with them, does the town stay with you guys?
They have to follow us
No, the
because
town does what we do.
They're not big enough.
they're not big enough to do it, so.
No, I'm just saying the other towns that are included, like, what towns were they?
Well, if-
Yeah. You have to decide on that as a whole, correct, to get out or to, right?
Well,
No,
I would
we're
think
standalone.
I would think to a point. If,
point.
if all 5 of the other ones wanted to drop and get out, and we wanted to stay in, then that's when we would be looking at the other chip, or, I think, or you look to bring other towns in, but,
I bet it grows.
yeah, I think so too.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions, comments about it? All those in favor of us joining the CT CHIP Healthcare Collaborative, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anybody want to abstain? Okay, that passes. The Agricultural Consulting Committee Liaison Appointment.
So we received correspondence from Kenneth Couture from the Killingly Regional Agricultural Education Center. He is requesting that Danielle LaFay continue to serve as the board liaison for another 3-year term. We're supposed to have 2 representatives. He's also looking for a second volunteer to serve on that board. She's currently the chairperson of the board, and he would like us to approve, or like the board to approve, her extension.
She came and met us once, and we haven't seen her since.
No,
We've asked for updates, we've asked for
The information
the
regarding
information.
where they end up going.
Well,
Yeah, but
Yeah,
that's something else that
that's
we've
part-
asked
that's
for. We've
part
asked
of
for a
it.
number of things.
We did invite her for this evening's meeting.
but we've invited her in the past, in the last year, to come and give us updates periodically.
So would you like to hold this until she can make the meeting?
I don't mind doing it, but, we have you know, Kai's Orr comes to mind, who's very much into agriculture, who's got a vested interest in the town and the school. But I don't know if she fits, if she wants to do it, that kind of thing. I don't know, what's your plan?
I'd like to have a representative that represents us. and
Well, that's
comes
that's
here
kind of my point.
When we asked.
I think, would you approach her and ask her that? Or?
You wanna table this and we can ask the question?
Yeah.
Let's table this, and we'll ask this Kenneth Kuchar, you know, and again, like Sean said, if we have a representative, we'd like them to represent us, we'd like.
Well, we're allowed two, so, and we only have one, so.
Well, as far as we know, we have one, but after appointing her the first time,
I agree,
it's
I
been
understand what you're
crickets.
saying, Bill,
Okay.
but we at least could ask, I don't know, Ms. Orr.
Or there's other,
Yes, there's others in town, there's lots, and we could ask we can ask the agricultural committee if they would appoint one. Because there is an agricultural committee in town.
There's a lot of smaller farms that have been in existence for a while. Too.
Right.
Like the Azure Farm people, you never know.
Yeah, there's lots of, there's the agricultural committee in town, then we could go to them and ask them if they would represent us, or someone from theirs would represent us.
All right, so this will come back to us next month.
Okay.
Our cafeteria manager,
Yes.
we had a request for an increase, do you have a motion?
I will make the motion because I would like to make it clear that we, was brought up to my attention, because I did say that this should be on the agenda, that, in improving the budget, this doesn't automatically get approved because it isn't in the budget. So I will make the motion that we approve the raise for the cafeteria manager as of July 1st. It's not now, it's as of July 1st. And the reason we're doing this separately is because in improving, all the other raises get approved when we approve the budget. But these raises don't get approved because the cafeteria or the cafe fund doesn't go through our budget.
Right, as like a lot of the non-union positions do also, so when that comes around next year, we'll have to remember that this one was already taken care of.
Correct.
So I have a motion on the floor, and Val has a second. Discussion. I think this was talked to death, right?
Yeah, it was. We don't break them down, right? We don't break them down in the budget.
No.
No, and
Those positions
and
are
this
not.
is funded through the cafeteria?
No, I know it's funded.
No, I just want that made
Oh, you
public.
definitely want that out there.
Yeah. Yeah, this is not in effect until July 1st.
And it's not part of the BOE budget.
And it's
No,
not
it's
part
not
of the
part of
board.
BOB budget, it's funded through the cafeteria,
But
all the
that's
benefits.
12 months.
And it's for 10 to 12 months.
10 to 12
Yes.
months.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? All those in favor of approving the salary increase, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Anyone want to abstain? That passes. We have a resignation from Christopher Roca. Do I have a motion, please? To accept the resignation? Jody, Sean, questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And finally, a maternity leave for Lauren Langlois. Have a motion? Jody? All those, any questions?
Your young teachers.
Hey, she lives in Thompson, so.
That's good for the school.
Just looking at the numbers.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Lastly, we just added the calendar,
Yes.
letter G. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve it, with subject to changes other than the beginning, The start date and the end. Well, the end date will change, anyway, but the start date.
Okay.
I'll second.
Second by Donna. Any other discussion? And you'll give us a revised, refined one next month. Laminated, color-coded. Put my name on it. All those in favor of approving the calendar, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Correspondence, I have none. Old business, I have none. Citizens' comments? No citizens' comments, any board comments?
Board comments.
Board comments?
Big mouthful right there.
All right.
Why did we cancel next Tuesday's meeting? On the 19th?
Yeah, we got
Oh, it's a day off, that's why.
And it was moved, it was the one,
Well, Monday's the day off, Monday's the holiday, right?
Tuesday,
it was initially scheduled for that date, but you moved it to last Monday. So you moved it earlier. You didn't really cancel, you just
Right,
moved it.
and we were gonna save time at the end of this meeting if we wanted to discuss anything with.
We don't have any numbers, like, we need the slides. When are we getting the slides? That's what we need to discuss, is those slides, because I don't think one meeting is going to do the slides.
They were left on the desk.
These are the slides?
No.
No, that's, no.
No, these are contracts, right?
Right, yeah, well, I have the EastCon thing, so, no, we need the slides. And I'm not sure.
I saw an email today, I didn't open it because I wasn't at work during lunch, so wasn't it? Did you send something today?
There was an email.
Not today, no, I sent something yesterday.
There was an email canceling the meeting on Tuesday, the 19th.
Right.
Tuesday's a holiday?
Well, no, but it's
school
February
is
vacation,
closed.
now it's down to 2 days.
Oh, that's right, yes, never mind, okay, but we still need to have, I
So,
think, another meeting.
when's our next meeting?
The 25th, and that's when we have to give everything to the Board of Finance.
That's not gonna work, we
Yeah.
need something in between them. Only because the Board of Finance, well, I got a request to move it up, I said.
Well, her emergency is, her,
I said no.
yeah, I know. Her problem's not my emergency.
So we,
Will we meet before the Board of Finance meeting on the
24th? You wanna do like 6, it would be no more than an hour, but we could do like 5:30 or 6 next Thursday?
That would be,
This is to look at all the information we have so far.
This Thursday coming up?
Next one, the
Board
21st.
of Finance meeting?
Yes, that's why I wanna do it before the Board of Finance. If we can do it at 5:30 or
Yes.
so, we can at least look at the slides and go through it once before the meeting on the 25th. At least we'll meet together. Bob, you can have all that stuff to us? Thank you.
No problem.
All right.
How are you gonna have?
Right.
What time are you gonna have?
I don't have a light, so I'm over here.
We'll do it like 5:30. If you can't be there, you can't be there, that's all right, we'll fill you in.
well, could we do it at the library? Could we get a room at the library? Well,
Danielle can do this.
yeah, because that way we could just go to the,
Yeah, so we don't have to travel.
right.
We can stay till we get her in. All right.
What
I don't know, if she can get a room for 5:30, we'll do it at 5:30.
I just have something real quick.
What?
Something real quick.
Oh, go ahead.
So I just wanted to say thank you to the fourth grade, that the suggestion to have like a transition. I think that's a wonderful addition, because we need that at our school. I just want to say thank you for that.
Thank you.
I think it's important too,
It's very
with all the changes that have happened at the middle school. I think parents would want to know.
Why is it taking that? I don't get that. It's not allowing.
All right,
anything.
motion to adjourn?
Second.
Okay, John said it like 10 minutes ago, so we have a second. All in favor, please say aye. Thank you, we're adjourned.